What are some things you want to talk about, by the way? Because we can always just say, hey, one of the questions I got in was like, what's next for you? Like, I could throw whatever.
We're talking about that because if you look right here, Charlene's already in the chat. She's saying hello.
Yeah.
She's part of the show already. Michelle Mybell. How's it going, Michelle? Thank you so much for being part of the show. We're just sitting there chatting, waiting till 3 o'clock. But if you guys have questions right now, we can answer it right now. Right, John?
I don't see anyone in the chat. How come I don't get to see the chat?
You're not cool enough. No, it's a YouTube chat. That's where we're broadcasting right now.
Because I'm looking at StreamYard, the guys who are sponsoring us.
Yeah, shout out to StreamYard, yo. This is gonna be a good time.
Our sponsors who are putting this on.
Yeah, and Jack, we're just sitting here. I know I'm broadcasting out of Culver City. You're in Redondo Beach. Is that okay to disclose this location?
No.
Redacted. So many things going on in wrestling, man. And I love the fact that on Twitter, it's like blowing up as far as wrestling Twitter is concerned. So much stuff we chat about. So that's why we want to get together, have a good time.
I'm trying to tweet it right now. I'm trying to tweet it out. So sorry if I'm looking away from the camera.
Yeah.
How many people are here? 3?
About that, yeah. The people are commenting in the live thing. Michelle's having time of her life. We're actually tweeting it out. You guys are early. I appreciate coming early to the party. I really am, bro. You kind of caught us out because we're now like telling you to show up and tune in.
Yeah, This is the pre-show, guys. This is what we do before shows. Is we basically play on our phones.
It's like, welcome to AfterBuzz TV.
This is let's see here. This one isn't sponsored by AfterBuzz though. This is on the Flobito network, right?
Oh hell yeah! Right. This is a Flobito exclusive over on the channel. Thank you so much for watching What's Up Flo with the new Amsterdam Radio. Good things and bigger things are coming. I asked Jack if he was free, and he's like, no, but I'll try to schedule you in. You know how it is, that quarantine flow. But I'm so glad he was able to be my first guest on this things. Yes, Michelle Mybell. Good advice, Jack Farmer. Michelle Mybell says, hashtag, or not even, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. Because I've been doing that a lot. So much I'm out of the lotion. So I'm trying to help out.
What's with the washing hands? Is that something we should be doing?
Man, I was touching my face all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, man, this is so this will be fun. So it's 3 o'clock. Do you want to get started?
Yeah!
Yay! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It's 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and boy, are we glad to be here. Flobo, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It's great. It's day 13 in the quarantine for myself, and trying to find the best of it all. Got my walks in, got my prison workout in. I'm losing muscle mass, but I'm still working on it. That's the idea.
I have gone through the gamut of emotions and days. I feel like today has gone from feeling like a Friday to a Monday to a Saturday. You could tell me if you were confident enough to be like, dude, it's Wednesday. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I gotta get ready for AEW. All days have lost all meaning to me, and I've gone through different diets. I've gone through like super strict, be healthy diet to, look, let's have some cookies. Who cares?
I do the thing where like I pretend I'm eating healthy, but I'm not. Like I'm eating like yogurt covered raisins and chocolate covered pretzels. I'm fooling nobody. Yeah.
Yogurt covered raisins are sneaky delicious. If you guys, if you don't do like yogurt covered raisins, you got to. If you're in the chat, let us know what you guys like to eat. What's your sneaky bad food? Is the yogurt raisins, is that your go-to bad food, Flobo?
Now I'm trying to be healthy, yeah, because I'll eat like my breakfast, which is like usually savory, and I'll have like trail mix with yogurt raisins on top, and I'll eat out of like a cup or something. So I got to make sure I exercise. So Charlene just says, hey, look, I'm overeating. So I can relate to that. And even though we are trying to fill out our days, shout out to Michelle Mybell, also in the chat, saying that, look, she's an essential worker. She goes in, she makes it safe. I don't know what you work in, but thank you so much for going on the front lines because I'm home. I'm just a lowly host.
I am about as unessential as you could get, I think, when you look at the grand scheme of things. It really kind of puts your life into perspective, doesn't it? When you're like, Jack, Flobo, by the way, you are absolutely not needed. Like, are you sure maybe we could go entertain? Nope. Nope, stay inside. Totally unnecessary.
Yes.
Spotify got you covered. You don't need DJs.
Right.
Netflix has the hosting thing taken care of. Even Ryan Seacrest has nothing to do. Us hosts are in trouble.
We're just like, hey, you guys want a party? Anyone? No.
Anyone? No.
All right,
So
that's cool.
I was talking to a good friend of both of ours. One, Andrew Trago, who
Oh, what's up?
yeah, Trago, who anyone who knows him is just a spark plug of life. I always like to call him. He's just this great personality, but he's a DJ as well, and he had this great like thing to say that made me just feel good as a DJ from the DJ side of our lives. Is everyone's worried about Spotify replacing you or technology replacing you as a DJ, but he's like, think about how these live streams and things just don't do the same thing as having a live DJ. It's not the same. It's a little awkward. It's not as good. And it does make me think, okay, maybe we got a few more years.
Oh yeah. Like D Nice's like feed is a class by itself. I'll even give you Duke Dumont's feed, but like when a DJ on my level, like a wedding or mobile DJ, that says, I'm doing a mix, it's an hour and a half. It's like, I get it, it's an exercise thing for you, but no one's tuning in like, oh snap.
Yeah.
What mix of Lady Gaga are you gonna play today?
Right. But we got a few questions. We got a few questions, Flobo. Some things came in. And before we dive into it, I kind of want to I'd love to ask you, because you hate lists.
I hate them, and it's so bad at AfterBuzz because all we do is lists.
So the first thing I want to do is the thing going around, 5 wrestlers that mean a lot to you. Yeah. You got asked this on Twitter, but I feel like it doesn't count because you didn't properly tag. Who are your top 5, man? Personally,
I don't do tags. You know what? The one thing that I dislike, I like the fact that everything's coming together during the quarantine, but I hate the chain tags. It just seems so like parallel to what's going on in the world, So I did push-up challenges 10 times, and I got wrestling challenges. But yeah, my top 5, as far as my favorites, the ones that are most influential to me, D'Lo Brown is number 1. He's the guy that I wanted to be. Yeah, with his neck on a swivel. Yeah, he was a little chubby, had a little bit of the chesticles like myself growing up, but he can jump off the top rope. He had a submission finisher. He was super fast in the ring. That was always like my guy. And for me, also as someone who was bullied back when being a nerd wasn't cool, The Rock was confidence personified, especially as like the corporate champ. So he was my number 2. The Rock still, like my first book I ever read for pleasure was The Rock's autobiography, because I know he didn't write it. Called The Rock Says. So those 2, Stone Cold, of course. I mean, he's a classic one. And I guess on the more modern, there's Sheamus, the most decorated WWE superstar on the roster today. Fan since day one, heel, face, up card, mid card, main event, didn't matter. And then Finn Balor. Finn Balor is my guy now. Here's someone that had the spark, kind of made it work on the main roster, but now seeing him with the spark in the WWE system just says so much about character evolution. Jericho's usually held up as the standard of who is like the most like better at like reinventing themselves, but I gotta shout out to Balor, man. He was sick.
Yeah, that's a good range. A lot of different people in there. I love that you comment on The Rock not writing it, his book himself, because it's called The Rock Says, which I think is exactly what happened. Is The Rock said something, and the guy who wrote it put it down on paper.
I want to hear a question in the chat. I'm going to ask you this one just to mix it up here. Okay. Michelle Mabel asks, your top 5 female wrestlers.
Top 5 female wrestlers. Right off the bat, I go Charlotte Flair. I think she's the best of all time. I know people are going to go, whatever. She's the best of all time. Let's just give it to her. Let's quit pretending like her last name is the reason why. It's because she wins all the time. She, to me, was the first WWE female wrestler that felt like she was on par or better than a lot of the men wrestlers, because she's great. She is great on her own. Absolutely think she is awesome. I really, really like Io Shirai. I think her look, her style, and everything she does is amazing. So I'm really, really pulling for her. Ivelisse is someone who actually really stands out to me as well. Going back to Lucha Underground days and seeing her matches with the fellas, are the matches that really made me a believer in the intergender matches, and really a believer in like this works. This is fine. I think we need to get over the stigma and the fears of it. And so for me, Ivelisse is always going to be someone that stands out as one of the top female wrestlers to me. I'm trying to go back and think of some of the older female wrestlers because I don't want to just say
Wendy Richter or
it's so unfair because like the evolution in women's wrestling has grown so much that even the people who were amazing, like I loved Lita back in the day. I was a fan of Lita back when she was Miss Congeniality in ECW. And I thought she was great. But even for as good as she was, you look at how good people are now and you're like, man, I don't know if she would have been able to hang today. But I still probably, I'd say she was at the time one of my all-time favorites. And as far as, let's see, I need one more, right? I did 4.
I think so. I'm good at math. I don't know.
I think I would probably say, I feel like I'm missing someone. I'm going through them all. And I know there's an obvious one I'm not thinking of right now. That's a favorite of mine. But we'll say, oh, it's so hard. The last one's the hard one. You know what I mean? It's always easy to be like, oh yeah, this one is. And I guess I would say, as far as a personal favorite, probably Trish Stratus. Part of me doesn't want to say Trish Stratus because I feel like she's the obvious one. That's why I feel like I'm missing someone. But Trish Stratus is great too.
Oh, time to rock and roll. I loved it, man. She had like the best like theme song. I agree with you about Charlotte, but in a different way. Because I know there's people who are just like, oh, she's the best. Done. And some people are like, oh, she's not. She's just a Flair. I'm kind of in the middle as far as reasoning, but if you think about her level of work and how often she does work, there's no comparison. Like as much as I like Molly Holly is my favorite of all time, as much as I like Lita, as much as I'm a fan of Bayley, when it comes down to it, over the past 3 or 4 years, Charlotte worked more dates. Charlotte had more events, did more contract sightings. She was like the John Cena of her division. And I mean, I could say right now with not hesitation, she's in the top 3 females in the world. Ivelisse is pretty solid too. Not quite my cup of tea, but I can't knock it. If someone ever said Ivelisse like you did, I can't be like, well, she whatever, you know. I was a Trish Stratus fan too. Lita was my girl back then, but I was a Trish Stratus fan back then as well. And my classic choice is always Alundra Blaze, pre-Medusa.
I always thought the only thing that held her back is she didn't really have anyone. Alundra Blaze and Medusa, she just didn't really have the competition. Wasn't at her level. She was like too far ahead of her time, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of like her great matches because she didn't just have people to work with as much as today. Going back to the whole Charlotte Flair thing, I want to defend Charlotte Flair. I think she's the best of all time. I am that guy. I think of it this way. Like, if you think of Shayna Baszler, right? If she beats Becky Lynch, we're going to go, oh, wow, that's crazy. She beat Becky Lynch. I guess she's the champion. She's going to be the champion. But if Rhea Ripley beats Charlotte Flair, we're going to be like, she's a star, game changer. She's now at the top. And when you think of it in that term, I think you see just how big Charlotte Flair is. If Rhea Ripley can beat Charlotte Flair, she is now on the verge of all-timers. She is really big. I don't think beating Becky Lynch, and not a shot against Becky Lynch, by the way.
Totally a shot on Becky Lynch. Totally a shot.
I'm just saying, like, when you think about just how big Charlotte Flair is, I think when you think of it in those terms, it means a lot because Charlotte's not even the champion right now. Charlotte's a challenger, and beating a challenger is going to make Rhea Ripley more than I think beating Becky will make Shayna Baszler.
I think a lot of people got off the Charlotte bus when she got the Flair added to her name, and it was like, "Oh, she's just trying to be like her daddy." But hey, I think you and I are, I think you are in agreement, but for different reasons. That Charlotte, I'm pro Charlotte. I don't mind her as well. Like, it isn't like someone I'm neutral on. Like Sasha Banks, I'm neutral on, like down the middle. Charlotte Flair, I'm like neutral to positive.
Well, I think she's one of those people I think a lot of people, once Charlotte is all said and done, I think a lot of people are going to look back and realize that she was better than a lot of people gave her credit for. I think there's a lot of people like that. Similar to like Cena was definitely someone who I think a lot of people, poo-pooed on for so many years. Now that he's gone, I think people are like, oh, wait, Cena was actually amazing. And we were lucky to have him for as long as we did.
I agree. I think I like Cena. Again, I went from being like a super Cena fan to as far down as neutral. Yeah. That neutral zone is pretty important. But that really is a Gretchen episode that was dedicated about Cena. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy really put in the work, even though his first attempts really did fall flat. People forget that. When he debuted, that night against Kurt Angle was sick. And then it was like, oh, it's this guy. This is not word life, John Cena. This is like the
right.
Whatever the hell that was. But yeah.
It goes to show so many people, someone comes in and they debut and they don't have the perfect gimmick, or they don't have the perfect look, or they don't like what's being done with them. And the old saying is, you got to grab the brass ring or whatever. All the greats seem to have overcome some kind of silliness. Like John Cena didn't have the perfect gimmick handed to him. Triple H didn't have the perfect gimmick handed to him. Shawn Michaels didn't have the perfect gimmick handed to him, but they overcame it and turned into something great. I think a lot of people forget those things with a lot of these guys and a lot of the things that they did. Some people got to walk it. Batista was Deacon Batista when he came to the main roster. I think as wrestling fans, we forget a lot of times those things, and that, you've got to make the bad thing work to justify getting the really good push. Unless you're Goldberg, then you just come in and dominate. Or Brock.
I remember specifically because in New York, WWF was a local federation. So we had Superstars on Saturday, which was like the better of the two shows. And on Sunday, you had Wrestling Challenge, basically jobber match, mid-card versus mid-card. That was it every week.
Yeah.
And I remember the day sitting cross-legged in my living room, and the announcement was coming next week. It was like Vince McMahon's voice. Coming next week, the Connecticut Blue Blood, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And I was like, that guy's not going anywhere. I knew it. That guy was way too cheesy. I thought it was a flash in the pan, but you're right. Everyone starts off with a stupid gimmick. So
right. Yeah, I remember with him, I was always like, if you're going to do that, it should be William Regal.
Yeah.
You know how it is. Yeah, exactly. Something else that's been passed around. I feel like I want to, since we're not tied to anything, this is kind of a free-for-all. This is kind of fun. We can talk about whatever we want. And
no network
been flying around on Twitter. And Flobo, I want to chat with you. The 4 video games that defined you. You had GoldenEye, if I recall, in your list.
Nightfire.
Next question. We're moving on. I'm not talking video games.
I got a question from Charlene. She has 2, and one we'll answer a little later. One, she wants to know how you got started with AfterBuzz. But before that, she has this. What is your first WWF memory?
I don't like that you're using the chat to get out of all your questions.
Yeah. That's the plan, man.
Yeah, my first legit WWE memory. I was in and out of wrestling my whole life, as long as I can remember. But my first legit, I remember watching it and remember what I was thinking was the Royal Rumble. I always mixed up the year. I think it was 92. It was one Ric Flair one.
Okay.
I can never remember if it's 92 or 93, but it's one of those. But I remember my cousin Matt would always bring over wrestling tapes, and he brought over the Royal Rumble. And I remember just being
your cousin Matt, huh? I'm just no for you, no shade. I'm just go ahead.
What's the shade all about?
I'm just saying, you're that same cousin Matt who followed me on Instagram.
Follow you on Instagram or Twitter. That's the one. Yeah. So yeah, he now works with a really cool promotion, Defy Wrestling, in the Pacific Northwest. But he brought over he'd always bring over wrestling tapes. He brought over the Royal Rumble, and I remember just being blown away by how cool this match was. All these people coming in and out. I remember being very confused at the end and why is Hogan being a sore loser? I didn't get it. I was he's kind of being a jerk. Isn't he supposed to be someone I love? And
92. 92.
92. That's it. Okay, yeah. So I remember being like confused by that, and I guess it's funny. Do a little psychological deep dive. It probably makes sense why I think Ric Flair is the best of all time because he won that one. I wonder if there's there's some sort of influence there, but
it's terrible because the first Rumble I saw front to back was 99. That was the one McMahon won, so I don't think that.
So you think that McMahon is the best of all time?
He's a former WWF champion. I don't know.
He's a champion to lose. It's got the indie cred, right?
Right. That's
but yeah, I remember I thought that was cool, and then I was like more into wrestling after that. But what really kind of solidified me as a fan was Hulk to the crowd. I never really followed dirt sheets or things like that until like maybe 2000, like really kind of late in the game for me anyways. And so it completely was like, what's Razor Ramon doing here? Yeah. I didn't follow any of that stuff. And then like the whole invasion thing and got really into the whole who's the fourth man. The third man thing with Hogan was cool, but like the fourth man was like, oh my God, who's the fourth man? And then seeing Ted DiBiase come out and do like the four, and I remember thinking, is that four horsemen or is that the fourth man? And then he does this, the five, and there's a fifth man. Oh my God,
yeah.
So cool. And then of course, I think what made me really lock in as a super nerd wrestling fan was the WCW World Tour video game, actually, because then me and my friends started playing it, and then we would talk like. That kind of opened the door for us talking wrestling. And then that really opened the door to us like watching wrestling together, and like all the buddies getting together and watching wrestling and being into it. And that's what really kind of locked me in. But what about you? Your first Royal Rumble was 99. What was your first memory?
So that's my first Rumble was 99 because I didn't have cable growing up. That's very, very important. I was aware of Royal Rumble, but I just never got it. That was back when I paid Alex Menudo $5 to take a VHS and record it and have it back to me. The first memory is definitely that. Like I was said, the wrestling challenge and superstars every weekend. People that you didn't think, people that were essentially like jobbers were built up on these shows. So Charlene's asking if you're WCW. I think you're WCW or WWF. I think you're
WCW. WCW guy growing up, yeah.
But growing up, it was like everyone that was pretty much a mid-card or undercard was like built up as these giant superstars. Like Tatanka had that win streak in 93. I was a huge Duke Josie fan. This guy who worked so hard getting your trash Monday through Friday, decided to wrestle on the weekends. I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense, whatever. Or before what was his WCW name was Wall Street. IRS. IRS. Yeah. It was just all these motley crew of people that you thought were like these giant stars. So I would say 92, 93 was when I got into it too. And I remember my first pay-per-view experience was going to In Your House, Beware of Dog, was it? The one with the electrical outage? I was at my friend Jamaica's house and I was going to watch wrestling on a Sunday and then bam, power outage. And I was like, okay, dope. That's wrestling.
Yeah, I miss the old. There's this part of me that misses the old days of trying to figure out how you're going to watch the pay-per-views because nowadays it's on the network, whatever. But like, especially as a kid, parents didn't want to buy that for you, so you had to figure out a way to like either make the money to pay for, or like find a friend that his parents could do it. And you'd have to like cycle the houses and like
that's the flex. Get the friend with the parents.
And it was always so it's funny kind of getting to watch it, like getting to watch it was like an experience that was fun about the pay-per-views. And I remember I would like go out like mow lawns and things to try to make money so I could like say, hey, mom and dad, here's some money, can you buy the pay-per-view?
Like, damn you, enterprising son of a bitch. It's true though. Because, sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was gonna say in another parallel universe, there's a version of me that's rich because they invested that money into something valuable instead of wrestling pay-per-views.
It's like you're rich, but you never heard of wrestling in your life. You're like, what is this? Because growing up, my parents were working class, sure, but they were a bunch of homebodies, so I never got to go to the movies a lot. I went to movies like once or twice a year. So any movie I saw, I was blown away by. Like Batman and Robin to me is like the best Batman ever because it was like, wow, I saw it live or live, you know, the bat skates and everything.
So like, and also to say, I watched WWE and WCW. I was a fan of both. I was like a big nerd. I'd record everything. I'd watch like the Sunday Night Heat. I'd watch WCW Worldwide. I'd watch Main Event. I was a nerd about it. I'd record it and watch everything because I got really, really into it. You were always a WWF guy, though, which means you picked the winning team.
I watched Saturday Night, but that's about it.
was D'Lo like the first guy you were like, this is my guy. This is my favorite guy. Was he like your first wrestling fan, like super fan of?
I saw it with my own eyes. Yeah, because like this is so childish, but the cool thing with the kids was to pick a basketball and say, that's you, that's who I am, you know? And I didn't have cable. And the only time I got to watch like basketball, I was like on Sundays doing homework. So I was always the last to pick, and I was always getting bullied. So like all the good basketball players were taken, like Reggie Miller and Michael Jordan. I was Alonzo Mourning. And I remember specifically that when all the wrestlers were picked, like, oh, I'm Shawn Michaels, I'm Bret Hart. I picked one at random, and it was Kama. Remember Kama? Not the Godfather, not Papa Shango, but Kama. You know, and so man, I was always WWE. Their extreme body machine. Yeah.
What's funny is my first favorite wrestler, though, is like the guy that was as a first a big fan of was Bret Hart, who was a WWF guy. But I loved Bret Hart. I used to think his jacket and his sunglasses were so cool. One of these days I'm going to dress up for him as Halloween. But I thought the jacket was cool. I thought the sunglasses were cool. I love that he was like a. I love that he was like a smart wrestler and not just like a big muscle dude. But I like that he was technical. I thought that was a cool thing, and I always respected that. In my chat with Simon Miller, I was saying how I liked him too because he was the smaller guy. Though in real life, I think he's probably massive. But in wrestling terms, he was small. So I was like that because I thought I kind of related to him more because I wasn't necessarily a big dude.
My small guy and my first ever heel I was a fan of was Rick Martel. That was my dude because he was feuding with Bastion Booger at the time, and Bastion was so gross. I was like, bro, I can't.
Yeah, So that's interesting. So yeah, you were fans of both of us seem to be fans because then I became later a Lance Storm fan, and Lance Storm has now always forever been my guy. And I think everyone thinks I just like Canadian wrestlers because it was 2 in a row. But your go-to though is D'Lo Brown. What was it about D'Lo Brown? Just do you see yourself in him? Was it his moveset? Because he had a sick moveset.
Absolutely, man. The guy had the range. He had the same shaped head that I do, you know, and he was always in the back. Like The Rock was this big, and he was like this big personality. Even back then, when he was Rocky Maivia, but D'Lo was a guy in the back that was able to hang with bigger guys and smaller guys. The European title division is my favorite division of all time, and he was one of the more prolific. One's the first ever Euro-Continental champion, holding both titles. And then he struggled with his weight a bit, and then he went out and lost the weight. And I remember the story that's on the dirt sheets that backstage, Chaz walked up to him and said, "Hey man, you working your body. It's time to lose a shirt." And he became Lowdown. And that tag team was sick in the first half before Tiger Ali Singh got involved. So it's like, here's someone that's WWF from that did so much. And then when he left, started to become like the head trainer for TNA and even AEW now. Like, this guy contributed so much, almost like Cesaro. Everyone has a story about D'Lo. Everyone knows that D'Lo is a hard worker, but doesn't get the respect he deserves. And he's a person of color. He's the real deal now. Woo!
Yeah, so Charlene says Miss Elizabeth was my favorite. I really wanted to be her when I grew up, and Macho Man is the bestest heel of all time. It's so funny, Charlene, you mentioned this because one, I always loved Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man. I'm behind on the Dark Side of the Ring, and actually just started really watching it, and so I just saw the Macho Man Miss Elizabeth episode probably 2 days ago, and really cool episode. Nothing you probably don't already know, but still just kind of cool to see. And it really makes you appreciate just how important Miss Elizabeth is, and really surprised she's not in the Hall of Fame. Like, kind of shocking.
Yeah, it's a whole situation with Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth that we won't get into quite here, but I have not checked out The Dark Side of the Ring yet. I know. I'll get to that. It's on my list. I know they're on season 2 now. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're like little bite-sized history lessons, and they're filmed really well. Again, I've seen the first 4 now. They did Bruiser Brody, the Von Erichs, the Montreal Screwjob, and Macho Man. And again, I don't know if there's anything in there that's like shocking new information, but it's presented cool, and it's kind of like, oh, this is interesting, and you do get another appreciation, especially for guys like Bruiser Brody. And who he was and what he did. And it's actually kind of interesting to see guys like Bruiser Brody, because it does kind of make you remember the time when all the wrestlers were this big, terrifying monsters of men. And makes me wish we had a few more of them, but I guess we still do have them. They're just not really used the same. Well, I mean, insert hat joke here, but
they don't even care anymore. Whatever.
There's. I'm sure we could make a Mr. Magoo. He used to wear that. Right?
He wore a bowler. Yeah.
I mean, if he's selling Lucky Charms, maybe it fits. But
yikes.
No, but I was talking. Like it's weird how the wrestling industry. I think one of the things that makes it so fascinating is how, especially from like the 90s to today, it's this weird big business hitting weird, carny, traveling sideshow at the same time. And neither side really gives up. And that's what makes it so interesting, especially watching, what used to happen in some of these old documentaries. And you think, this is so carny what they're doing, but then you see the production and what they're putting on. It's like, no, this is a big production. It's kind of a weird, magical thing that I don't think any other industry can lay claim to.
Oh yeah, I always tell people at parties when we start chatting and they know like all my backstory and things I've done like on the serious side, and they go, "Oh, you're a wrestling fan." And you're like, "Yeah, man, it's what 500 years ago when Shakespeare wrote the storylines, it was called theater in the round. That's exactly what we're doing. It's the Globe Theater, or it's the Talking Stick Arena in Arizona or whatever. That's just the way it is. It's the same deal."
Right. Speaking of what you're pursuing and all that good stuff, I would love to know, and I know the viewers would love to know, Flobo, what made you make that decision? Like, everyone, I think, has things they're into and things they enjoy, but what made you make the decision to take the show on the road and actually get up in front of people and perform? Not just even with, like, talking about wrestling, but, like, stand-up comedy, DJing. Like, what made you say, no, I'm not just going to do this for my friends. I'm going to do this in front of strangers?
Whoa, that is a very deep question. How much time we got? Because even though I in reverse order, I've been DJing in Southern California since 2015, because I did like college DJing. I was in stand-up in 2014. It was really SummerSlam 2010. Everything in my life, wrestling has been a part of. Whether it's like going forward or trying new outfits, wrestling in my life are like this. I went to SummerSlam 2010. I think that was Nexus versus WWE, right? Team Nexus versus WWE. And I had a dream. The big dream was to become a wrestling ring announcer. Because when SmackDown came back, which doesn't even exist anymore as a network, Tony Chimmel was my guy. I wanted to be Tony Chimmel. And which is a really weird thing to say.
Yeah, no, it's great. He was good.
Yeah, I actually met him last year. It was crazy. So I was in the crowd. I wanted to be a professional wrestling ring announcer. Outside there was a guy who just passed away last month. His name was John Ian in Southern California. He was giving out flyers for a wrestling show. I asked, "Hey, can I be a ring announcer?" And he's like, come on down to the weekly fight nights we do." Totally brushing me off. I went every week. I drove from my house in Glendale, 40 miles south to a town called Anaheim, to sit there in the crowd every week, every Friday, and wait to see if I could be a ring announcer. And it went on like that for 3 months. He finally relented and gave me the chance to be a ring announcer for independent wrestling, which is why I know guys like the librarian Peter Avalon, or I know guys like Ty Matthews who works at AfterBuzz, and I can name drop all day, whatever. Changed my life. I loved it. Getting the pop of the crowd, even though they're not popping for you necessarily. Bring it down, sir. To me, it was amazing. And comedy at the same time was something that was always in the back of my mind. I really wanted to try it, but I was afraid to. That was like in 2012 and 13. And I'm not sure how much time, if I'm rambling too much. I had a near-death experience the winter 2013, and I had to make a decision. And I go, well, I could possibly would have died. Let me decide to do the things I want to do. And the two things I wanted to do was get a motorcycle license, which I did, and try comedy. And I've been trying comedy since 2014. And then doing comedy and going on stage opened me up for this giant big box DJ company here in SoCal that were looking for masters of ceremonies. So I walked in there, thought the company wasn't a part of it, but they still called me back and said, come back Monday for MC training. So it kind of just like all went from SummerSlam to this. It was all wrestling and going forward,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I'm a big fan of people who like want something and they go for it and they keep going for it, even though there's not immediate feedback to say it's the right thing. Like I love anytime someone like you going and sitting front row. And for people who don't know this area, who don't know Southern California, that trek to Anaheim is a long trek. It's not just
Friday.
On a Friday. Like we're like, oh, it's 40 miles. That's not like a 40-minute, 60 miles an hour on the freeway drive. That is like a long 5 miles an hour drive. Exactly. That's your day going out there. So I love when people are pursuing things and they don't just go, oh, it's not easy. Well, never mind then. And so that's cool that you did that and you're still doing it. And now you're a part of AfterBuzz and we get to chat wrestling and all that good stuff. It would have been fun if we knew each other back in the Attitude Era when we could have chatted wrestling. I could have told you how WCW is going to be the winner of the war, and I'm never wrong, and you can count on it.
You're absolutely right. There's this guy, I won't forget his name. His name is Neil Cantor. We sat in accounting class, and this has to be 2000. He said, look, man, I don't know if you know this, but Vince Russo's coming to WCW, and I was shook. Oh, it's over. I just knew it. Once Vince Russo gets there, it's going to be all WCW from now on. Yeah, so I would have believed you had it been.
Dude, I remember that. I remember that was right about the time I started getting into the dirt sheets. Is when Vince Russo came over, and so I was like, "Hey, this is how I heard it." I didn't know who Vince Russo was, but I was like, "The guy who came up with the Stone Cold and The Rock gimmicks and angles and characters is coming to WCW." I was like, "We're gonna have guys like Stone Cold. We're gonna have guys like The Rock. It's gonna be so cool." Yeah. And then Judy Bagwell came out, and
yeah, man, Horace Hogan and Disco Inferno. Yeah,
Disco Machine. I am so angry.
No, Disco Machine is somebody else. This is SoCal, but Disco Inferno is also.
Yeah, it was. It's so funny how with wrestling you'll endure some things that aren't good because you have so much hope and belief in the people who are there. Like for all of the stuff people make fun of late period WCW for. I always enjoyed it because I loved Lance Storm, who was there. I loved Mike Awesome, who was there. I loved a lot of the characters. Like I loved Rey Mysterio, who was there. I loved all these people who were there. I was like, eventually they're going to be the guys, and then it's going to be really, really good. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then eventually it was done, and I was absolutely devastated when it happened. But
hey, I totally get it. Because I'm a huge XFL fan, but not to change the subject. I think the world wants to know, how did Jack Farmer get involved in hosting and punditry and AfterBuzz?
Well, I snuck in one night and they won't let me leave.
Yeah, you wore a tie. You know
it's not really that good of a story.
It's an amazing story, damn it. Charlene's been asking forever.
As far as hosting goes in general, I got involved in hosting because I wanted to go back to school and I needed a job that would work around school hours. And so I got a job at a DJ company working in the warehouse. And eventually they were like, Jack, you're good with people. You should do sales. I was like, okay, I'll do sales. And then they were like, Jack, you should DJ. And I was like, I'm never going to DJ. That's crazy. But enough time passed. I became friends with a lot of DJs. Like, Jack, you really should. I was like, fine, I'll go out and I'll see what it's all about. And I was like, this is fun. This is really fun going to these parties. So I learned to DJ, and I had the time of my life to start hosting events. And just so everyone knows, that's how we met, was through this company.
Yeah.
Because it was the same weird company. Eventually I went off on my own, but as you did as well. But you and I, we've always been buddies. We became aware of us being wrestling fans together because we would do events. And on the long drives on the road together, we started chatting, and wrestling came up one time. And I think neither of us knew how into it we were. And so, like, the conversation started very, like, broad. Or like,
oh, yeah. It's a process, because I think people our age know the down period of the 2000s. So you're kind of like, do you watch the wrestling thing? Oh, great. The Singapore headlock is the best. Yeah.
Right. And so, like, it was funny. It'd be interesting to see, like, I wish I could go back and see the conversation start with like, yeah, I used to watch when The Rock was big, to like, oh yeah, this is all the storylines that have been happening for the past 24 months in detail with analysis. Yeah. And I think right off the bat, as far as getting started as being a pundit, quote unquote,
Steve Kaufman, because I got that from him. Punditry.
The zero qualifications necessary punditry.
We have zero qualifications in spades, Jack. Sorry.
I think right off the bat, I think Evan T. Mack was the one who I first heard say this, but it's so true, is you and I would talk about wrestling whether we were on TV or not, whether we were part of AfterBuzz or not. I think even if we had never random stuff, we still were like, if WCW won the ratings war, what would the wrestling world look like today, do you think? Or whatever.
It's true, guys. It's true. We talk every day.
We like text each other stupid questions about wrestling every day. But then you started with AfterBuzz, and I can't remember how I found out about it. Maybe you told me about it, but I remember I started watching AfterBuzz kind of to support what you were doing and to see what you were doing. But hey, I want to be a viewer. I want to click the like button. I'm gonna, be a part of it.
I can do it better than his crap.
But I'd always text you afterwards, and I'd be like, I felt this way, I felt that way. Pretty much the same way as everyone in the chat does, or in the comments does, except I would text you directly. And eventually you said something along the lines like, put up or shut up, Jack. I think it was kind of like, dude, if you're going to keep talking, why don't you come in? And, I always got to give you credit. You really opened the door for me at AfterBuzz. And
no, I didn't, bro.
Because of you, I was able to get in, and you have to submit an audition and do all that fun stuff. And funny enough, my whole training process, I was small little Easter egg for everyone. Me and Rye Guy in the booth were in the same training class together.
Oh, that's awesome.
And in fact, in our test thing, we were, you really pulling back the curtain. You have to do a test panel with people. And it was me, Ryan and I were in the booth together, or in the class together, and we were on the same fake panel together. So it's that's just a fun little side thing. But then even then, when you get there, you don't know you're going to be on, like, what show you're going to be on. I wanted to be in wrestling, but we didn't know if that was going to be the case. And so the first show I did there was for Another Life on Netflix. And
you can still find it on YouTube, by the way. Classic.
Please don't look it up on YouTube.
Another Life on Netflix. Which got him his promotion.
Yeah, it was right after Quasto got called up.
Right.
And so I remember the first show, my first ever episode was me, you, and Jim. And Jim was the moderator. And it was it's kind of
when Jim moderates, by the way. People hate it when Jim moderates. I don't know why.
I'm gonna blow up Jim's gimmick here. Jim is a super good dude. Like,
I know.
He's not acting when he's on the show. He is that guy, but But honestly, Jim's such a good guy, and I love him. He was such a good he took care of me as a new panelist on the show, which if you've ever been a moderator, you know what that means, to kind of take care of someone while they're on the show. You always do a really good job of it. In fact, I'm kind of lazy on Raw. I'm kind of like, Flobo will handle it. I'm just going to pop in whenever I want to say something.
I watch AEW to get more technique from you, man. I love that all your segments and Elite of the Week. It's great.
Well, the trick is you just make your intro so long you don't have to talk about anything.
And bug you later, everybody.
So Jim is good people, but a little intimidating because he's got super strong opinions, and anything you're going to say, he's going to come at you. But we had a great time, and then it was like, when's the next time I get to be on? Because it wasn't like I wasn't on. Right. It's like, oh, you stepped in, and then I was like the fill-in guy for a little bit, and I kind of got lucky because some spaces. Evan got called up eventually. By the way, first time you meet Evan in real life, dude is way bigger than you think he's gonna be.
People don't know. I mean, this dude is like 6'5", 280. He's a beast.
Because you were like, I remember I was in there. We got to the studio before everyone else. Like, yeah, Evan's gonna be on. I was like, oh, cool! I can't wait to meet Coco Cena. I only knew him as Coco Cena for like 3 months, but I remember he walks in. He probably has to duck his head under the door and walk in sideways because he's so big. I was like,
what's up, Playboy?
Cow. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, no lie. Evan used to play basketball, and you can tell he has definitely basketball poundable hands. They're huge. Yeah. They're huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And you sit at the desk with him, and he's not trying to take up space, but you feel like you're just this little person squeezed next to this huge person.
And he has personality. It's funny you mentioned that because my beginning was very, very similar. I got in through a mutual friend, Kelly, got me to AfterBuzz. He did my recommendation, but it was Christy Olsen that gave me my first wrestling gig on a show called After 83 Weeks. It was not 83 weeks, after what's the word? Something to Wrestle. After Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. They had a short after show for that Bruce Pritchard show, and they hired Jim and myself the same time. I didn't know Jim was hired because I did the first week, and I said, hey, guys, second week, I'm going to Phoenix for the Rumble. This is 2019. Don't worry about it. I'll be back the week after. I go to Raw because we're having auditions because by that time, Hobo had left and attendance was pretty bad or whatever. I showed up, and it was Jim and I. We were both auditioning to be on the Raw panel at the same time. So this is like early February 2019. And they're like, oh, Flobo, you're on the show with Christy. And Jim, you're on the show with Christy too. And I'm like, he is? Like, oh no. I instantly didn't like Jim. Space. Yeah. That first episode was brutal, man, because you had Quasto and Evan who are just so good at what they do. TK has a nice lane doing the boudoir and stuff. Jim comes in hot with his opinions. And I'm just sitting there going oh man. I walked out I'm so fired. I blew that audition whatsoever. But you're right. Half the job is showing up and coming through and doing it. And I guess I start off with a gimmick I still have. I was like, okay, if I can't be Jim, I can't be heel, I can't be Evan. I'm not nearly as funny as Evan Mack, naturally. I'm not really the host that John LaQuaso is. I'm going to be the super fan. So I went out and bought all my shirts I wear in the shows. I put in my closet. All the shirts I buy myself. I'll go and I'll be a super fan. I'll talk about the characters and motivations and angles because no one was doing that because it was a last-ditch effort because I did not want to be removed because Raw is the flagship at AfterBuzz Wrestling. You don't understand. And it was given to me. I'm not giving them a reason to cut me. Right. But yeah, man, it's a nice run and seeing myself grow as a host and you grow. And on AEW Dynamite, I'm watching and so proud because you have, your whole team is all in sync. It's amazing.
Stop.
Keep going. You guys are the best.
Keep going. Keep it going. Yeah, you do. Something, again, I guess if this is kind of a peel back the curtain kind of thing, something we do just about every show is we break down our own game tape. And we usually it's us just commiserating about all the little things we thought we did wrong that no one else probably noticed. But
what's your process? How do you break down your stuff?
It goes through I go through different ways, but for the most part, I always will watch it back the next day. I don't watch it the same night. I don't look at it the same day. but I'll watch it back the next day. And something I started doing now is I'll watch it in clips, so like I'll watch like 5 minutes at a time and just kind of focus on what's happening during those 5 minutes. And then I'll go do something else, and then I'll go watch again kind of for 5 minutes.
What do you focus on? If you want me asking.
Yeah.
Taking notes.
I focus on the way I look and the way I'm presenting myself. And the word junk is the thing I try to work on right now. I say a lot of uhs, and I'm trying to fix that. And it's hard because the more you try to fix it, the more you want to do it.
Yeah.
So those are the biggest things. Also, overall flow of the show. Does it feel clunky? Does it feel like it was smoothly flowing from one thing to the next? Did it feel like a basic conversation, or did it feel like a rough me asking a question, answer, me asking a question, answer, if that makes sense?
Yeah, because you don't want to be like a ping pong match.
Yeah, and also, was it entertaining? Did it feel like an entertaining show, or did it feel like we just talked about, did we just say everything that everyone else was already thinking, or was it actually fun and entertaining? Did I contribute in some way? And so I usually watch, and then I used to listen to it as well on podcasts because, I'm in Redondo. Again, for people who don't live here, it's a good hour and a half, 2 hour drive into AfterBuzz every.
Yeah, and they don't pay your travel, so.
usually I pull it up on podcast because sometimes you'll watch a show and you're like, this was amazing, and then you'll listen to it and you go, oh, this was not good. Yeah. So it's two totally different things. Yeah. How about you?
We're kind of the same, bro. We try to like ask each other how we feel about it, but we just gush on each other because we're just like, oh, you're amazing, Jack. Oh no, you're for me, you're right. The video and the audio is two different things. Especially me, I'm a fast talker. I actually have a speech impediment called cluttering. So if I'm in the zone, sometimes I'll go and like I'll just go off the rails like a car fishtailing. So when I'm on broadcasting, I try to slow it down just to make sure everyone hears me. A lot of times you can hear what I'm saying on the visual version, but on the audio, it just sounds kind of muffled. But yeah, the idea is like, for me, it's like you're basically running point. Make sure everyone has a chance to put themselves over, get their high spots in there. Even things you don't really particularly care for or things you don't like. The idea is that you want to make sure it's consistent, right? You may not like eating a Big Mac every day, but let's be sure if you have a Big Mac today, it has to taste the same way as it does the next week. I try to do things of like, okay, was that too much of a jokey joke? I'm not the kind of comedian that Evan was. I'm not the kind of analyst Johnny LaQuaso is. Now it's not much of a problem for me because I'm kind of like, I'm just doing me now. But before I was like, what direction am I going to do? So at the end of the show, on the ride home, I listen to nothing because I usually kick myself like, oh, you're the worst host ever. I don't know why AfterBuzz keeps you around. That night, I'll do the video watch. And I'll sleep on it. And the next day I'll listen to the audio version. And if there's a clip I really like, or we tag, especially NXT, we tag like a NXT wrestler so they can pretty much see us, then I'll clip that out and upload it. And I'll say, Jack, I'm the worst host ever. Save me. Make me feel good about myself. And that's kind of my process on the wrestling shows. Like, narrative shows are different, reality shows are different. But wrestling ones are important because we have a very finite group of our fans that tune in every week. And the fans are there now. I've been there forever. They've been there through the Hobo era, the Quasso era, the Evan T. Mack era. It breaks my heart when someone goes, this group is lame, I'm out. But I understand, like I can only give you the best show I can possibly do. So it's good to have a nice, strong team where I don't feel the show isn't working. I think it is. I think we're as well-oiled as it's ever been. But it's a very distinct kind of flavor on Raw and NXT.
I think that we need to take a little bit of credit for doing an okay job. I'm going to say that because look, it's tough to be the people that follow up a Quasto and a Mac, who both have now gone on to have phenomenal careers with the WWE, which is about as good as you can get, really. So I think we did a pretty good job. I don't think you're ever going to replicate either of those guys. You got to go your own way, and some people are not going to like them as much. But I would say, I wish I could redo a show with Mac. I wish I could do another one with him now because looking back, he was such an entertaining figure. Sometimes I think I allowed myself when I was on the panel to just sit back and watch the Evan Mack show instead of being more a part of it. But I think that's also just the growing phases of being the hosts and being on the panel. Because I think if you would go back and watch some of my old stuff, you would say Jack doesn't talk nearly as much as he used to. Or
that was me too. Sure.
But again, just when you have someone like Mac on there, you're like, wow, this guy's really entertaining. I don't want to get in his way. He's hilarious. Let him do his thing.
Evan Mack is like that independent wrestler you watch at like PWG in the Sweaty Armory, like totally burned the house down, and you see them get signed, and you're like, okay, he's doing a good job, but he did this and that. Come on, guys. Like, I want more Mac. Every Wednesday I tune in. I'm like, do a high spot, baby. I want to ask a question to you from Charlene right here. She says, who else is on your support team? And I asked whether or not it was an AfterBuzz or on Life. She says both.
Interesting. Well, I think I have a support team as far as like personal, like different people for different things. When it comes to hosting, honestly, Flobo, you're my guy. I go to you for just about all my in general hosting.
I'm a DJ guy, so it kind of works.
Support. And I think because you're very good at also letting me know when I'm being over dramatic about something, or if I do need to work on something. The AEW show got some bad reviews on iTunes recently, and of course I texted you right away and like, should I blast these guys on the show? I was so crabby about it, but I'm still crabby about it. Who do they think they are to leave me a bad review?
Free entertainment, damn it. No, I'm just kidding.
When I say leave a review, I specifically asked for 5 stars. Anything less is unappreciated.
Yeah.
I also think that I do a bad job of shouting out support team on the shows. It's something I also try to work on more. Like, one, the chat is so important, you guys. If you're in the chat, you don't realize just how important it is to have you guys there. The comments are important because it lets us know what you guys are interested in and what's working and what's not working. But even at AfterBuzz, the producers, Josh and Ryan, are super helpful. And something that has really I've been able to get to chat to a lot and work with a lot that I'm really proud of and happy about is Kevin Undergaro has taken the time to chat with me quite a bit. I'm still trying to get him on the AEW after show. One of these days,
that would be kind of cool.
We're coming for you. You're going to be on the couch one of these days.
Well, he's in the building on Wednesdays for the Tomorrow Show. It's just a walk down the hall to stay in Studio 3.
But it's cool, and I know he chats with you a lot as well, Flobo, and it's cool that the boss man takes specific interest in what you're doing and working on new shows and brainstorming things and trying to find more stuff and giving feedback and critiques and things like that. And so he's been really good about that kind of stuff as well. But all the hosts really are super supportive over there. Yeah,
that's it. No, I'm joking. We totally are. Same for me. The hosting, I always talk to you, Jack, because you and I are very similar in how we watch the tape. We prep the show. We try to write the show to make sure it's pretty structured. Everyone has their own approach at AfterBuzz. Not saying one's better than the other, but I think because our styles are so much in sync, I usually go like, hey, Jack, what do you think about this or this joke? Or, hey, look, Cameron Grimes has a match. Jack, I need you to write me something. I'll tell you about the AEW side. And it's hard for me because, again, the Raw was given to me pretty early in my AfterBuzz career. So I always felt like I was trying to fill in some shoes. And when Kevin Undergaro pulled me aside at the beginning of this year and goes, okay, Flobo, here's how we can be strategic. And some things he told me I did. Some things were a lot more quicker with the intros or we post out more. Some things I tried didn't work. Grew out my beard because he's able to try it out, But the idea is that, look, the guy who runs the building sees you and sees what you're doing. It's always a good sign. It's motivating for that. Of course, can't knock mama because my mom doesn't really know what I'm doing, but she's like, as long as you're happy, baby, you need someone like that to say, there's a book I read. If you guys ever have a chance, it's called Epic Win. It's motivational speaking for nerds or geeks or what have you. And they separate the kind of people you need. You need cheerleaders who are just pure that says, you can do it. You need coaches to be like, nope. And you need someone kind of in the middle who's able to mitigate like, hey, look, this is your progress, this is how you're doing. Enjoy your victories and wins and keep growing as a host and as a person. Because I can tell you, if I kept myself being I'm the worst host every time I recorded, I probably would have quit. Like, I probably would have been like, oh, forget it.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you said that. I need to give a shout out to my mom. She watches literally everything I do. And it's so, it means the world to me. One, like whenever your mom supports you, of course, it means a lot. But like my mom watches everything, but she watches zero wrestling. So she has no idea what we're talking about. But because she loves me, she still watches. She says it's like having my son in the living room again. I don't know why I imitated her like that. She sounds nothing like that.
Yeah, it's like an old timey ragtime pianist. My old son is in the room again.
I grew up in the ragtime there.
My mom quit wrestling when Ken Patera showed up. She's like, I can't believe this guy was so mean and hitting people behind the referee's back. I can't watch it anymore. It's too violent. You're like, Ken Patera? Really?
Yeah, I do got to give a shout out to my cousin Matt also, who is sort of a support system as well. I will message him occasionally and ask for advice and thoughts and feedback because he's actually in the wrestling industry. So like before I interviewed Scorpio Sky, I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, any rules I should know before doing this? Like any things that wrestlers appreciate or don't appreciate or whatever. And he's really good about, giving me support, giving me advice and feedback and stuff like that, which is always important. But I think just in general, the things like that is something that I think you and I do a lot too, is to pat ourselves on the backs. I think we do a lot of research and we actually get into it. We get kind of nerd out about it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You do really well. You go into a show. You go into a show with like what's that? Are you ready?
Yeah, there's an alarm happening outside my house. It's live, baby.
No, you're very good. Like you never go into a show unprepared. I feel like I sometimes freak out. Like, how am I going to fill up 45 minutes? But you're always like, yeah, I've got all my notes, my questions, how things are going to go. You're a very good preparer for the show.
I appreciate that because the idea is that you want to come off as too nerdy, and sometimes you don't know. Like it's human beings, right? There's always times when someone is like, I'm not feeling it today, and I get it. Thank you for coming to work. So it's on me to make sure that people on the other side don't notice that. And there's times where I'm not feeling it, where I'm like, all right, match number 1. What do you guys think? Woo! And now it's time to do the live read. I want to get Charlene's question out the way. Thank you so much for the question, Charlene, because you are totally an ace about it. She asked about our relationship with the SmackDown team. Just want to say, look, I like the mom. Christian and I actually worked together back at that wrestling promotion back in 2011. John Ian hired us both. So Christian and I, or Josh Tariff, or whatever he goes by now, we're close. Tom is cool when I see him, but Tom and Gabby are kind of in their own thing. It's Sunday, so we don't really cross paths that way. But we're good on social media. I mean, there's no like ill will. It isn't like whatever. The thing is about SmackDown is, at least at AfterBuzz, they were like the consistent team for so long. They kind of have they're like a sub channel within the channel. So like they just roll their thing. They're NXT almost.
Yeah, I've only met each of them once. And they were all, I like their show. They do a good job. I met Gabby actually on, I remember the dates. Well, not specific. I met Gabby the first day of AEW. So I guess October 2nd. Because she was filming something and for that day. And so we chatted for a little bit before AEW started, and she was great. And then I didn't meet Tom and Josh. I still want to call him Christian Rosenberg also.
I do too.
It was Royal Rumble right before I went in for the Royal Rumble because they were doing SmackDown and I was doing Royal Rumble that day. So we chatted for a little bit there as well. So I haven't met them much in real life, but we chat a bit on social media. They're a great crew. You're right. They're such a well-oiled machine. They know everything they're going to do. And as far as like the rules they play on the show and everything like that. So don't really actually work with them. I'd love to actually work with them. I've always wanted to do a SmackDown. You've done a few SmackDowns. You're the what do they call it? The Grand Slam champion.
Yeah, the first ever Steve Kaufman gets mad when he's the first ever. But like, yeah, I've been the AfterBuzz Grand Slam wrestling champion. I've been on every show except for 83 Weeks, which is the show you've been on. But the same week I did a SmackDown, a Raw, and NXT the same week, and then the week after that I did AEW and NXT the same day. But I don't know. It's like when when you are a fan of it, and people, again, what we were saying before, if you show up and you show dedication, there's a lot of things. I take a lot of pride in having the network feel comfortable, be like, hey, Flobo, can you jump in this? We're kind of short. You know, that to me means the world, even though like you, I'm in traffic going, it sucks. But it's a good sign. It's definitely a good sign that you take pride in what you do, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely fun. It's something I would say I never planned on it, but I enjoy every minute of it. I'm one of those people that I kind of just do things I like and then try to make it work one way or the other.
Yeah.
with DJ, I was like, this is fun. I'm just gonna do it more. And then it's like, this is fun. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Love the spirit, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I know we're actually over our time, but I just wanted just one more thing about the whole AfterBuzz thing and wrestling thing. There is so many different channels at AfterBuzz. There's like there's Black Hollywood Live and Popcorn Talk and AfterBuzz Latino and AfterBuzz Reality. The AfterBuzz Wrestling and Sports team is like a small, tight-knit family, and we all get together. We all have fun. We all love each other, what we do. Wednesdays, to me, even though NXT doesn't get the views Raw does, I feel like it's like going on to a college campus, seeing like Christy and after 83 weeks, and you guys in AEW, and NXT is rolling on, and our Hall of Fame snub show is going for a while. And to me, it's just a lot of fun being part of that group, because it's okay for you to geek out and nerd out. And when it's all said and done, everyone calls me heel pizza behind my back anyway.
Yeah, I know it's funny because someone asked a while back which show I like doing more, AEW or Raw. And I would say it's such a hard thing to answer because Raw is clearly the flagship show. It's and being on the flagship show always has its fun, and it's what makes it great. But like you said, Wednesdays are the most fun day because everyone is there. Like you said, like, I get to see George, I get to see Steve, I get to see Christy, I get to see Leslie, I get to see you, I get to see TK, I get to see Punk Rock, I get to see Emily, I get to see Jessica, I get to see Roger, I get to see Anissa, I get to see Ryan, I get to see Josh, I get to see everybody.
And the boss, Kevin Nagaro, yeah, exactly.
And I say, hey, you should be on the show. And he's like, one of these days I should be. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold you to it. I say it every single week. Every single week I say it. And one of these days, Kevin Nagaro is going to be on the AEW after show. Believe it.
I was going to say, take the hint, but that could be to ask him more. I don't know. Ask him twice a week.
I have no problem getting shot down. I have no problem asking more than once.
I think it's about time for us to get out of here. There's one more question from Charlene. She asks us about the WrestleMania thing. I think we are covering the show. George Hermoso might be the lead of that. 2 nights, too big for one night. But just real quick, before we get out the door, thoughts about WrestleMania happening, even though outside is all crazy right now.
I've always said, don't bet against Vince McMahon. It's going to happen. I think whether it's right or wrong, whether they should change it, whether they should have postponed it, I think is all kind of a moot point at this point. I think it's happening. I'm interested. I'm actually really excited to see it. I think it's going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be, there might be cringe moments. There might be amazing moments. Right now, I think it could be looked at as a real pivot point for pro wrestling because it's going to have the biggest company on the planet doing something completely different in the biggest way possible. And to me, that's exciting. Even if it's something we look back on and go, that was a big miss, it may also be something that makes them go, wow, pre-taping certain things and having different angles can work, or doing these different things can play out a different way. I think this is going to force a lot of people who have had a stagnant view on how they do things, break the mold and do different things. And long term, I think that's going to be great. How good it actually turns out to be, I don't know. But either way, I think we're all excited to see what a Boneyard match is. We're all excited to see what a House of Horrors match is. We're all excited to see how this is going to play. It's going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible one way or the other. I'm actually really excited for it.
That is way more eloquent than I was planning on doing it. I just look, WrestleMania 36, this is a weird one because they still kept the pirate ship theme, even though they're no longer in Tampa Bay. To me, this to me reminds me of back in the day when Kanye was still old Kanye and he released 808 and Heartbreak. And you're just like, okay, we had graduation, the first three, right? Legal registration, graduation, college dropout, 808 Heartbreak was just so different.
All three
So
top 10
new.
in the top 10 for me, by the way.
Oh yeah, those are classics, man. Those are hip hop classics. And 808 Heartbreak is like, it's like, whoa, he's singing now about sad stuff. It's just kind of weird. For a lot of people, that was the first time people jumped off Trey and Kanye. But over time, and this is with Kanye's evolution, we go back to 808 and Heartbreak and go, well, he lost his mom, he lost his girlfriend. This is like, it was emo rap, it was experimental. His last tour, the tour before Pablo, he just did that album. It kind of stands on its own. It may not be your favorite, but you can't deny it's structurally sound. This could be it. A studio WrestleMania isn't unheard of, especially the humble beginnings, and even things like NWA now. They show a studio show could work. Is it going to be weird for WrestleMania? Sure, but you're right. It's happening. People are being swapped out and put back in. The show might go on. Maybe they take a break after this, but I wouldn't stop the show going into the biggest event of the year. I know, hot take.
Yeah, no, I think you have to do it now. I think if they were going to postpone it, that pirate ship sailed a long time ago. He's in it. And that's why I'm a professional. I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be a total train wreck, but I also think it's going to be fascinating, and I think they'll be good from it. You know, I think the first thing though is I think a lot of people need to stop projecting what they want to happen and not judge the WWE by what they want to happen and base it off of how the whole thing actually plays out. And, you know, because like I already see people talk, like I'm talking to my friends and they're already assuming Drew McIntyre is going to win. Now, spoilers out there, maybe he does. I don't know.
Avoid spoilers.
A lot of fans get jaded as they find themselves saying so-and-so has to win for whatever reason. And then when it doesn't happen, they get so mad because the thing that was never promised in the first place doesn't happen. And so I would definitely say if you're a fan of wrestling, go into it with an open mind, go into it without trying to judge, go into it without trying to condemn, and go into it without assuming certain things are going to happen. Just go into it and say, I'm going to watch some crazy entertainment and enjoy it. And I think if you do that, WrestleMania is going to be a blast this year.
Yeah, man, too sweet. Yo, I want to say thanks, man. This is a cool idea. You came to me first, was like, let's do a show. And I was like, but then quarantine life got to me. And I was like, okay, we're doing it. We're totally doing it. I guess, as always, where can the world find you online?
Well, before, I got to say, one, you did all the actual work. You basically sent me a link, and I was like, okay, here we are.
Kayfabe is dead.
And I was like, hey, just put it up on your channel. I don't have a channel. So you're putting it up on your channel. And then before we started, you were like, hey, do you want to kind of moderate this? And I was like, sure. But you kind of moderated the whole thing. Yeah. I just showed up, basically.
Just showed up.
So I appreciate all you did. I appreciate everyone being in the chat and chatting. Charlene, thank you so much. If anyone thinks we should do this again, let us know. If this was stupid, let us know. Flobo and I are always trying to figure out ways to do more than just the reviews, you know, trying to expand the brand or whatever you want to call it. But you can find me at jacksonfarmer.com. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the AfterBuzz Raw show every Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific, as well as the AEW social media skim every Monday and AEW Dynamite After Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific. All on AfterBuzz TV. Also check out my conversation with Simon Miller from What Culture. Simon is one of my favorite people in the punditry business, and so reached out to him. It was cool. Him saying yes and chatting with me. Absolutely fantastic guy. What you see is what you get with him. He is just like that. Everything you see in his videos is how he is in real life. So it's very cool. Check it out. It was really fun.
Wow, I love it. I guess I say it now. We're out of work, but I love when you do the whole social media platforms. You guys know me, man. It's Flobo over at Twitter at Flobo Boyce, on Instagram at Flobito. Flobito.com is a website. Please book me for real, because it won't be a forever with this whole quarantine thing. You can support me over at the patreon.com/Flobo Boyce, and t-shirts are always available at flobito.threadless.com. So many websites. But all the love isn't real. It's all the same. Thank you so much. Might do more, might not. We don't know yet. Until next time, do I even say Buzzy later? No. Peace out.
Flobito you later.
Love it. We